Hi everybody, I'm Tabitha and today we're just going to chat. So when I sat down to make the March schedule of videos I was going to do before March started, I originally scheduled this little chat video for last week. And I planned to talk about my work in progress a little bit more. I planned to give you an idea of what they're all about. I was going to talk about how I feel about the Shield Challenge, take some questions from the community, those kinds of things. It was going to be like a fun sort of informal chat. And then the coronavirus hit. People are quarantined. They're nervous. I just wasn't sure a chat video would have the right content that I wanted to put out. It wasn't the right thing that I wanted to put out. So instead, I posted a chat video last week. It was a little bit fun. It was a little bit more relaxed. And then this thing's not going away, right? It's not going away. It's getting worse. It's ramping up. More people are quarantined. More people are scared. More people are nervous. Panic buying has gotten a little out of control. So I just decided I'm going to do it. I'm going to add maybe a new topic to my list of things I want to talk about, but I'm just going to do the chat video. So please stick around, watch this whole thing. I'm going to be answering some of your questions, and you might even find out tiny little spoilers about Fran that you didn't know before. So my plan today is to alternate between questions from the online community and topics that I wanted to just talk about and update you on. So I think I'm going to start with a question from the community. So here's the first question I got. What are authors doing about the fact that people say they don't read anymore? So, kind of a hard-hitting question right from the start, but it's a good question. I think I do hear this a lot. I do hear I don't really read. I do hear I only read sometimes, or I don't read much, or I do hear that a lot. So what are readers doing? No, what are writers doing about the fact that we hear that? I would say a big one that I've noticed lately is a lot of us are moving to audiobooks. We're making sure that our content is available for you on audiobooks and things like that so that you can listen while you drive or listen while you do chores around the house or whatever. I do that. I do make sure I have that available, and I noticed a lot of other indie authors or authors are doing that as well. So audiobooks are kind of not really new, but they are ramping up in how much we're making sure they're available for you so that you can still listen, which makes you a reader in a different way. I also think I don't know about other authors, I can speak for myself. I'm not going to fight that battle. I'm not going to try to convince you that you need to be reading everything in the world. But if you have a favorite movie or a favorite TV show, it's likely, in my opinion, there's a book out there you're going to love that maybe you just haven't found yet. So I kind of pride myself on the fact that I've always been that sort of person that I'm going to listen to you, I'm going to listen to what you like, and I might recommend a book you could love. And I don't know, a lot of people, and drop a comment if you're one of them, a lot of people can tell me that I've helped them find a book they love, and they've found themselves to be readers when they didn't know it. So for me, when I hear somebody say I'm not a reader, I hear I haven't found a book I love yet. So that's what I'm doing about the fact that some people say they're not really a reader. All right, so for my first topic I plan to talk about, and this is the one that I'm throwing in as a response to what's going on in the world, let's talk about the coronavirus and what it's changed for me around here. So my kids, I have 2 kids, are obviously not at school right now. They're home. My husband is working from home. So that means, although I normally work from home and that hasn't changed much, it means I'm suddenly working from home with a really full household, right? 2 kids, my husband, the dog. So I would say the amount that I read and write in a day has definitely gone down. Partially because I'm focused on the other people around, but honestly because I feel like so many of the rest of you, I'm checking social media or the news way more often than I used to. So I'm distracting myself. Even when I sit down to write, it's almost like my brain is in the back worried about what's going on, or do I need to be looking it up? Are things changing? Are businesses closing? Am I going to be able to get groceries? You know, that kind of thing. So like most of the rest of you, I've noticed, because we talk about it on the writing community, and I mentioned it on Twitter, and a lot of people commented they're the same way. I find that my word count and my reading are definitely suffering right now. But at the same time, I also feel like I'm connecting with other people and being able to talk about these kinds of things, which I guess is a good thing. And this is going to be an experience, I think, that's going to reshape a lot of what we write as far as dystopian stuff. I commented on it before with some friends and with my husband that, like, our point of view of what happens in a crisis or a global pandemic, I think, is going to be influenced a lot by what we're seeing in real time right now. So, I don't know. I don't write dystopian quite like that, so I don't know if it'll change me, but maybe someday. So, anyway, that's our update. Yes, we're home. Yes, we're self-quarantining as much as possible. And, yeah, my productivity is suffering for it. But we're staying healthy, and that's what matters. All right, let's take another question from the community. Do you feel that technology is helping or hindering the reading community? Helping. I'm a fan of helping. I think helping. So here's why I think helping. We're reading ebooks. They're more portable. We have them available to us. You can pick them up and hold them. You can carry them around. We have audiobooks, which I already sort of mentioned. I think you can listen to it while you're working on other stuff. That's a technology we didn't have before. We can communicate with readers and writers differently than we ever could before. I regularly now, which is a sentence I never thought I would say, I regularly communicate with literally my favorite author on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, things like that. And that is mind-blowing that I'm able to do that. That is really cool. And there are other authors and readers who are doing the same thing. I also think technology allows us to have editors or cover designers or whatever from all over the world. I can work with an editor who's not local to me. I don't have to print my manuscript and bring it to them. We can send it to each other without ever meeting, and that's really cool. So in my opinion, embrace the technology because it's making our lives much cooler. In fact, speaking of technology, I'll have my editor drop in a picture right now of the new setup we're working with. So the camera is still there, microphone is still there, but now we've added lights, so you might have noticed the lighting looks a little better around here. So we have a whole new setup. So technology is making us able to bring you this and interact with you like this and in really cool ways. Technology. Yay! All right, my next topic of choice that I want to talk to you about today is my Shield challenges. So back in January of 2020, I decided to start the Shield challenge. So if you watch this channel, you already know this. In addition to my regular TBR, which is, the review requests or advanced reader copies that I have, I've also added 4 new books every month. I add the book that's been on my TBR the longest, the book on my TBR with the lowest average reader rating, the book on my TBR with the highest average reader rating, and a book recommended to me based on my most recent 5-star read. So there was a lot of reasons why I chose to do this, but basically, here's the deal. I have, no joke, 450 books on my Goodreads TBR. I made it a priority in 2019 to make sure my Goodreads TBR was actually updated with everything I'd bought or wanted to read or had waiting to read or on my Nook or on my Kindle that was just loaded up there and needed to read. And so my Goodreads TBR is accurate, which is how it got to be 450 something books. I found that I was reading my review requests, I was reading my advanced reader copies, and then I was going to the library to fill my other books for the month. And so, I don't know, you go to libraries. My library is all traditional. We don't have a lot of indie. So I found that I wasn't showing as much love to the indie community as I wanted. I was doing a lot of traditional reading, which is good, but I would like to balance that better. So the Shield Challenge, now that we're like a third of the way through the year, that's shocking, right? But we are a fourth of the way through the year. I think the Shield Challenge has shown me that I'm able to pull in more indies because a lot of times the indies are the highest reviews or sometimes the lowest reviews. They are the recommended titles. They're coming out in the Shield Challenge. And so I'm getting a lot more of them in, which I think is really cool. So far, I'm loving the recommended 5-star books because I'm also rating those high. I'm loving the highest average on my TBR. The lowest average on my TBR, I was hoping to find like hidden gems, like other people didn't love them and I do. And so far it's been like other people didn't like them and I see exactly why. So that's almost been disappointing, but I know sometimes you guys love them because you love when I rave about how much a book bugged me or whatever. So I don't know. That's the Shield Challenge is going well, I think. I'm not overwhelmed with it. Having those 4 extra books added, I don't think is a really big deal yet. I'm not stressed about it. But this March is the first month that I've struggled to get books finished. But, I think that has more to do with the quarantine situation. So I don't know. Right now I'm loving the Shield Challenge. Drop a comment for sure and let me know what you're thinking of the Shield Challenge. Because if you're enjoying it and I'm enjoying it, then there's no reason to stop doing it. So I like it, but let me know what you think. All right, our next question from the community. Would you ever author someone else's story? That's interesting. Okay, so I'm going to back up and tell a little story. When I first wrote Breaking Iselda, and it was coming out and people were reading it, and we were having online Facebook Live discussions about it, I remember someone, a good friend, she might be watching, hi, asked me, will you ever consider writing a story that's not like your own life? And it threw me. I think even on the Facebook Live, you can tell if you watched it, and it might still be up, I don't know. I think it threw me then because Breaking Iselda is a fantasy story. And these people are, Iselda's like 2.5 inches tall, and she's a princess, and she's not me. But I get what she was asking. She's not vastly different from me either. She had some similarities to me. I definitely share characteristics with her. So would I ever consider writing someone else's story, like nonfiction and outright? I'm thinking probably not. Thinking that's probably a no. Would I ever ghostwrite a story for a lot of money? I don't know. That's a maybe. Money can be a big motivator. But I think probably not, because would I have a problem taking a character and putting them into a fantasy story and having pieces of them? No, I do that all the time. But if you ask me to outright tell your story and tell your story for you, that's not my place. I don't think I would do that. I don't even tell my own, really. So I'm going to say no. I'm going to say no, I don't think I would do that. All right, next up, let's talk about my actual works in progress. So you know about them. You hear about them on my goals and my wrap-up videos every month. Really, there are 4. Did I just surprise you? There's 4. You didn't know there were 4. So I want to give you a little information about them. And if you're a Fran fan, hang on to your socks because we're about to give you mild spoilers. So Training Tutor is the 3rd book in the Kingdom of Fran series. That's the one I'm working on, formatting and getting ready for you right now. Training Tutor is supposed to come out this summer. It's still on track to do that. It follows, obviously, Tutor, who's a fan favorite from books 1 and book 2, from Breaking Iselda and Redeeming Jordan. But Tutor is dealing with a whole host of new problems. I'm not giving you major spoilers, but there is a new antagonist coming up, and that new antagonist is really testing Tutor's patience. We're dealing in a lot of secrets. We're dealing in a lot of lies. We're dealing in a lot of just basically making people look bad on purpose to make yourself look good, if that makes sense. And here's your spoiler. Tutor is also dealing with the problem of, what if the giants weren't gone? So there's your spoiler. The magical YA. So I talk about that one a few times. I talk about it on Twitter a lot. Follow me on Twitter at Shipley Tabitha if you want little insights to the magical YA. The magical YA is 0 draft done, and it is in editing right now. And the magical YA follows 2 girls, basically, who are in competition to be the most powerful magician in the world. So traditionally in their society, the most powerful magician takes over the academy for magic, trains other people, and uses their skills for good, basically. But for the first time in history, these 2 girls are both presenting as perfect equals, as the strongest, which is a problem, because as far as the community knows, only one can be the magician. So the story follows both of them in dual storylines and has a 3rd secret surprise storyline who you don't know how she fits in the story until the end of the story, basically. So that's the magical YA. It's in editing right now, and I'm really excited at how it's come through, but it has some things I need to change, I think. So that's that one. The young adult contemporary. Also, you see me talking about that one a lot on Twitter and also on Instagram. The young adult contemporary is the first time I've written a story in the contemporary genre. It follows Becca, who is in high school. She's a freshman, and she's dealing with toxic friendship. It's been hard for me to write, so I'm still drafting. I'm still 0 drafting. It was my National Novel Writing Month project last November. I think I'm 4 or 5 chapters from being totally done. But to be honest, that's a hard one for me to write, because toxic friendship is something, if you've experienced it, you feel it. It's like you know exactly what I mean when I say toxic friendship. And so for me, it brings up a lot of emotions when I try to write it. I have to kind of back off. Becca is going through a lot of things that come from my own past, the events, not necessarily her way of dealing with it, but the events. So not based on any real person, not based on my own life, but I did borrow experiences for that. So that's been interesting. And the last one I'm working on is my secret project, and nobody's heard about this one before. The secret project is a short story. It's going to be no more than 5,000 words, and believe it or not, the short story focuses on love, and it focuses on kind of a non-traditional look at love, and I am having a lot of fun with it. I can't tell you what it's for. That's the part that makes it a secret, but just know that I am working in a short story, and it's non-traditional. It's very outside the box for me. And I'm having a lot of fun with it. And I hope someday to be able to tell you what it was for. But for now, let's just call it the secret project, and that's it. So that's really the 4 things that have my focus and my attention right now. And that gives you a little more information about them. All right, our next question from the community is, what is the best way to show character motives without info dumps? So I have tried to talk about this before. How do you avoid info dumps? And I think the best way to avoid info dumps, which by the way, for those who don't write, that's a term that we use for those parts where an author gives you a whole ton of background information on a character all at once. So you'll get the entire description of what a character looks like or the entire memory from a character. You just get a lot of information all at once. Now, I love Stephen King. If you watch this channel, you know that. But some of Stephen King's older stuff is plagued by info dumps. So if you're not sure what an info dump really is, my suggestion is pick up a Stephen King book, like an older one. Needful Things is a big one. And look at the beginning, because he's going to give you tiny details, every tiny detail about the story in Needful Things when he first introduces it all at once. So info dumps get a bad rap because if they're not done right, you are going to lose 4 or 5 pages of reading time reading these details. And sometimes you mentally check out on that. You don't want that much detail. So as writers, we try to avoid too much of that. So how do I suggest you avoid it? My tips are, number one, only put it in when we absolutely need it. Don't tell us before we need it. And you can go the whole book without ever telling us. And I think that's okay. Number two, make sure that you tell us only the information that we can't figure out for ourselves, if that makes sense. So if you're going to give us a hint about something and you think a smart person would be able to figure that out, that's enough. You don't need to come right out and say it. So sometimes you can avoid info dumps by implying it and letting us put 2 and 2 together for ourselves without telling us that it made 4. And my third tip on avoiding info dumps is to give us that information spread out. So intersperse it with other things instead of giving it to us all at once. So give us a piece here and then maybe part of a conversation, and a piece here and part of a conversation. But the last thing I can say about info dumps is, like Stephen King, if you feel like it's important and you need it now, just do it. If your beta readers have no problem with it and that's what you had to do, then I'm going to say there's probably not an issue with it. Do it if you have to. So those are my tips for info dumps. All right, next topic for us to tackle. My year-long goals instead of monthly goals. So in 2019, if you followed me on Instagram or here or anywhere, you know that I focused on monthly goals. So I had an actual monthly goal, which I broke down to daily goals, and then I spent time on my Instagram posting whether I hit them or missed them, etc. This year in 2020, I've switched to that new format where I just have my year-long goals on one cute little page, and every month I let you know how much progress I've made towards those year-long. So let's take a look at what I'm thinking of how this new yearly goal is working. I think my big first reaction is that it's less stressful. Yeah, I'm a irrational perfectionist, you guys. Anytime I have to tell you I failed at something, that hits personally. And I'm like, oh my God, I failed at something and I just told the whole world. So having year-long goals where I can go, I failed, but I still have, 9 months left. So it's not really a failure yet. This is easier for me. It's less stressful. It's more relaxed. At the same time, in the back of my mind, I'm a little worried that I've lost that sense of urgency, right? So I'm kind of telling myself, I haven't done it yet. Oh, you got plenty of time. So I am a little worried in the back of my mind that I'll hit like October and November and go, oh, okay, I am out of time. And then it'll lead to me failing. So I guess I don't know for sure yet, but 1/4 of the year, and I can say right now it's a little more relaxing and I'm enjoying it, and we'll just kind of see how that affects me later. So as of right now, I'm liking it, and I'm glad that I switched to year-long goals. So that's my opinion on that. All right, our next community question. How do you endure setbacks in your writing? That is a good question because, like I kind of mentioned at the beginning with this whole quarantine thing, a lot of us are getting setbacks right now, right? We're just not hitting those goals, and we're getting setbacks. So this is a timely question, even though they asked this a while ago. So how do you endure those setbacks? I think here's the number one way. You need to remind yourself that those setbacks are only speed bumps. They're not complete detours. They're not the road has exploded in front of you, right? They're just detours. They're just small little speed bumps. It's okay. You can come back from them. You just have to be willing to come back from them. So the reason I say that is because if I take a look at my writing goal and I say, holy cow, I'm 10,000 words behind, that sounds like a lot. But if I don't do anything about it today, if I don't even sit and write, tomorrow I'm going to be 12,000 words behind, or whatever your daily goal is. So I think, can you make progress and stay on top of it? Yes. But if you let it completely derail you, it gets overwhelming. It buries you. So forget about how far behind you are. Forget about the setback you've just had and push yourself forward. I also have a video I'll make sure I drop in the description down there that I've done before on how to combat writer's block and how to push yourself through writer's block. That is filled with lots of tips that I still fully stand by, my favorite of which is the free write. So I'm going to direct you to that video to get even more awesome tips on how to push yourself past if it's a true writer's block and you're really, really stuck. So yeah, my opinion is pick it up and keep writing. It's never too late. Really, the last topic I wanted to update you all on, and this is part of the reason I wanted to do this chat, is my day job. So I write full-time, that's my job, and of course you know I also do book reviews. Those are big. And my channel, TabithaShipleyBooks.com, my blog is open for sales and things like that, and yes, we're still open right now and we can still ship you books. But I also took a part-time job at a bookstore recently, and of course the bookstore itself is another small business, and so they're definitely going to be heavily impacted by this quarantine, this whole crisis, this virus. We're definitely going to be heavily impacted by there. I'm not sure we're going to be able to stay open. I'm not sure we're going to be able to keep filling orders, but we're trying. We're doing the best we can. So my day job, I wanted to update you all on the fact that I have one and I'm going to be part-time working there, filling orders or whatever. And so you might see me posting occasionally about the bookstore and how the bookstore is open and the bookstore is packaging online orders and you can order from there. So if you want to order one of my books, get it from me. But if you're looking for something else more rare, I can also hook you up there because books are my life. And now I just have one more outlet for getting people books, which is the coolest thing in the world. So anyway, that's my update. I am doing that. So if you see me posting about a bookstore, that's probably what I mean. And I just wanted to clear that up. All right, our last community question here. How do you market niche ebooks? That is a really good question, right? So if you write a book that you know falls into a really small niche, like, I don't know, maybe it's a nonfiction book, or maybe you just know that not everybody's going to love it. It's just a really niche audience, and you knew that. My opinion, I don't know, find hashtags that match with what you wrote about. Share it on Twitter and market, not all the time, but occasionally market once a week or so. Share out something that has that hashtag that matches to the community. Try to reach out to people who are in that community, ask them to read your book, ask them to post about it. I know I've done this for people. I've read them for people and made sure that I give reviews right here on this channel for books that they know are niche market books. But I think that's your best way. Just reach out to people. I also want to remind you that if you find yourself in that little niche, you need to make sure you're hosting, not just marketing, but actually doing events for the people who would be the right niche for you. So get out into those companies, those businesses, talk to them about what you're an expert in and talk about your book, or talk to them about what you're an expert in and give them bookmarks, something like that. I write for young adults, so you will see me out at schools talking to kids that are the right age group and handing out bookmarks for my book because I write for kids. So if you write for nonfiction books, get out there in those companies, talk about what you're an expert in and hand that out. That's the best way to market those niche books, is to make sure that the people who are in that right niche know about your book. They can't buy a book they don't know exists. So that's my best tip for that. All right, that's it for me and my little chat video. I hope you got an insight into my mind you didn't even know you wanted, some answers to questions you did ask on social media, and if you're a Kingdom of Fran fan, you even got a tiny or giant spoiler. Thank you for being here. Please drop a comment to let me know you're still here. Hit subscribe and tap that little bell so you know when I'm back. Wash your hands. Stay safe out there. Keep plotting the path to your own dreams, and I will see you soon. Bye!